get some hellos coming through on the chat. So just as an introduction, thank you so much for joining us today. And the event that you've signed up to is why your next move should be eBay. We're absolutely delighted to be partnering with eBay on our second event together. And I think over the last year, eBay have really been working to make the environment more inclusive for all the employees, but also for anyone that might not know what it's like to work at eBay. So this is your perfect opportunity. You're in the right place to find out everything you've ever wanted to know about what it's like to work at eBay. So as an introduction, I'm Cynthia Davis, and I'm the Chief Executive Founder of BAME Recruitment, which is a diversity and inclusion consultancy firm that's been working in partnership with eBay over the last year in supporting them to reach more candidates from different backgrounds, but also to really make sure that they're creating a culture that is inclusive for everyone. So tonight is really an opportunity for you to just find out what it's like to work at eBay. If you're anything like me, you probably have this idea of it, this big tech hub, in San Jose, which, probably has slides or hammocks or, all the things that come to mind when you think about a tech organization. But tonight we will, dig a little deeper and really find out more about the culture of eBay and what it's really like to work there. We have a fantastic panelists who will be talking about their careers, about why they joined eBay and why they stayed. So hopefully that will give you a little bit more of an insight, and you'll have the opportunity to ask questions towards the end. So if there's anything that pops up in your mind as the panelists are talking, please do feel free to jot it on the chat box, and we'll make sure that we answer those questions towards the end. So just a little bit of an overview about how the next 45 minutes / an hour is going to go. And the format of this evening is we'll be inviting each of the panelists to start off with, so that they can just give us a little bit more of an insight about their careers within eBay and what it's like to work there. You will hear from some of the leaders who some have been there for a long time, some have recently joined. So it's really good to get that cross perspective of people that have been in the organization for a long time and those who are still new and finding their way. So without kind of further ado, my first panelist that I'd like to invite to join us on the screen is Chris Gardner. So Chris is the Home and Garden Trading Director, but he's also a D&I lead. So he'll be able to talk us a little bit more around the culture of eBay and really a lot around how they're building that inclusive culture. So let's welcome Chris. Good evening.
Hi.
It's a pleasure to have you, Chris, and thank you so much for spending the next hour with us. So just to start off with, Chris, it would be great to just get a little bit of an introduction into your background and the role that you play at eBay.
Yes, I've actually have twin roles at eBay in the UK. So one role is I'm trading director for the home and garden category. So what that means is everything that you see from business sellers on the platform in the home and garden category, me and my team work with those sellers to make sure it's the right stuff at the right price. So that's one part of the role, and that's my background is retail buying. So I work for various retailers like Selfridges, for example, prior to joining eBay. And then my second part of my role is leading diversity and inclusion in the UK. And I think I'll talk about that a bit more in a minute.
Perfect, great. And I know obviously eBay have been really working hard to create an inclusive culture for everybody. And as a D&I lead, it would be really good to kind of delve a little bit more into what that actually means for anyone who's on the call, and especially some of the initiatives that you have within eBay to create an inclusive culture.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I thought it'd be useful very briefly to kind of start with eBay in terms of kind of who we are as a business and our purpose, because that really is what kind of leads to the approach that we have on diversity and inclusion. So I thought I'd just give a very brief kind of summary of that, if that's okay. So really, in terms of who we are, we're a marketplace, obviously, and we bring people together. And that's been true since we were founded back in 1995 in California by someone called Pierre Omidyar. And it's always been the case, bringing buyers and sellers together. That's what eBay's always been about since that time. And really our purpose is to empower people to create economic opportunity. So for everyone who sells on the platform, it's really about having a place that they can come and create economic opportunity. And that means that it's kind of really important to us that economic opportunity is really open to everyone.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a key belief of ours, that we kind of be for everyone. And that extends then really, if we kind of bring that back into within eBay and the people who work for eBay, that's where we really start in terms of being for everyone, and everyone's individuality truly being recognized. And that's something that's very important to us, but very important to me personally, that people truly feel like they can bring their individuality, whatever it is inside them, that makes them who they are. And we're all unique human beings, that they truly feel like they can bring that to eBay. And that reflects in a number of ways in our culture, but I'm happy to talk a bit more about some of the things that we do.
Yeah, no, that'd be really interesting. And I think, thank you so much for giving us that overview on eBay. And I think if you're like me and, you're a customer and all you know about eBay is the buying and selling, it's sometimes difficult to really imagine, what it's like behind the scenes and, what kind of an organization eBay really is. And thank you so much for explaining a bit more about your purpose and what eBay is all about. So just in terms of from an inclusive kind of, approach, just talk us a little bit about the culture of eBay. I know you talked about why, it's important for everyone to have that authentic, feel, to be those authentic selves when they work. How does eBay make sure that everyone feels that?
Yeah, there's a few things. One of the things, and this kind of reflects giving people a flavor of the culture, is that there's a high level of trust in the individual in terms of how they manage their role. And obviously that's something that really reflects in the culture. And say for me, coming from other businesses, that's kind of a key thing for eBay, and one of the things I particularly personally love about eBay. And that obviously is very important anyway, but it's particularly important at a time like this where everyone's working virtually. So that's kind of one part of it. The other part of it is that it's very important to us that everyone can really channel what they're passionate about and channel their individuality.
Yeah.
And so the business will support that. So it's really about getting people's passion out and then creating a framework to channel that passion. And to give you some examples, that's led to the creation of many employee groups that we call communities of inclusion. So we have our BAME group, United in Pride, LGBT+ group. We have our socioeconomic diversity group, have Women at eBay group, for example. All of these groups have come out of the passion of individuals. The business supports them and the business enables them. The business rewards the people who step forward to do this. So it's very important. And to give you a flavor, that's always evolving. It's never staying still. And even last year, say, 2 new groups came up. So one is WeMind, which is a mental wellbeing group, which has massively come into its own, obviously, in the last year and all the challenges we've all faced in that time. And I think the second thing is a future leaders group, which is really for people who are early in their careers at eBay and having a voice and being able to really kind of be supported and kind of share their thoughts, what's important to them. And that's all of these things, but there are new groups coming up all the time. And so I'm very passionate about people really sharing what's important to them, but then being given a framework to then be able to actually do something about it.
Fantastic. And then one of the things that you touched on is that kind of well-being, which I think, especially given the environment that we're all living in right now, I think it's really, really important to, have that kind of support, whilst we're all in kind of lockdown. So in terms of, I know eBay's obviously got offices based in Richmond. Are people working remotely? What's the current situation in terms of work?
Yes, so currently everyone is working remotely except for anyone who has special circumstances, but effectively everyone's working remotely. And obviously that's been going on a while. It feels like it's been going on forever, but it's been going on a while. And obviously that has kind of really done 2 things for me. One is it kind of reinforces some of the things I said about the culture and the engagement at eBay. What I've been amazed by is how we've been able to continue and even in some ways accelerate how we work together. And I think that really is, personally, my view is that that's down to the engagement of everyone within the business, their kind of belief, how purposeful they feel. And I think purpose for me personally is very important at a time like this, particularly when you're at home a lot. there may be challenges in your life outside of work. And I think when you come to work, whether that even means moving one room to the next or not even moving rooms, I think it's very important to feel purposeful. And that's something that I've really seen come through. And that's kind of another aspect that's come to the fore over the last year, I think.
I couldn't agree more, and you know, and purpose, you know, and especially, you know, working for an organisation that puts purpose at the heart of everything that you do is really, really important. And just touching a little bit around that kind of, you know, environment, you know, and I think with a lot of organizations, it's been difficult to kind of manage and keeping everyone, you know, looked after in this period to make sure that they're all kind of okay. Is that something that eBay has really been working quite a lot with the networks that you talked about to make sure that the well-being is at the forefront?
Absolutely. And I think actually, obviously, you know, Faye, who has organised this event from the eBay end. Faye was one of the founders of WeMind. And has done an amazing job, really, both through that group, but also the leadership team working with that group, but also the wider employee groups to ensure that we giving people the support they need at this time. And it's obviously tricky. The other thing is, we know not all of us speak up when we're struggling. So it's really trying to create the environment in which both people can speak up and have the support they need, but also that we have some fun as well. And I think maybe fun, strange thing to say, maybe is kind of almost underrated. Sounds like a weird thing to say, but I think these kind of times make you realize that those moments, those human moments, are part of what motivates you in a job. It's definitely part of what motivates me. And so we've been doing an awful lot, frankly, on that front, and that's been with the groups, but it's not just down to the groups. It's obviously down to the leadership, down to our internal teams, but it's been a big focus during this time and continues to be, will continue to be.
Fantastic. And it's great to hear that something that, especially coming from a leadership and being led at that kind of top level, really will allow people to actually have fun, like you say. And I think now more than ever, we all need to enjoy the environments. And, you know, we don't have the access to our colleagues as we normally would do, you know, in that fun engagement in an office. So it's great to hear that you're finding different ways to encourage that fun within the work. So that's really, really important. Thank you so much, Chris. And I will come back to you with some other kind of questions, but I'd like to bring some of the other kind of panelists on and introduce a few more. So next, I'd like to invite Sarah and Eve onto the screen. And it's quite interesting because I know Sarah's just joined just as lockdown had started. So it'll be really interesting to kind of hear from her how she's navigated joining a new company, probably not met any of her colleagues in person yet. So it'll be really good insights to see how eBay have been supporting some of the newcomers that have started during this period. But also we'll hear from Eve as well, just to talk a little bit more from a marketing perspective. Right, so, oh, hello. Hi. Hi, Sarah, how are you?
Hi, Cynthia. Yes, I'm very well, thank you.
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Really pleased to be here. Thanks for inviting us.
Oh, it's a pleasure, and thank you for spending your evening with us. So, I mean, would you like to give a little intro into yourself and what you do within eBay?
Yeah, sure. So hi everyone. Real pleasure to be here. Just quickly, apologies for any background noise. My little boy is currently in the middle of bath time, so excited screaming because it's definitely one of the favourite times of the day for him. So I'm Sarah. I've worked for eBay now for just coming up to 10 months actually. My background is quite similar to Chris. So the majority of my background has been in buying and merchandising. I did a stint within category strategy in an FMCG business. I dipped my toes in some discount retail, but most notably, I think the majority of my experience has been Amazon, where I spent a good 8 years across both the UK, Europe, and North America orgs, working with sellers. So similar to kind of a role that I do at eBay, but obviously for a different marketplace. So at eBay, I manage what is called the Pro Trader program. So effectively, this is a program that is created to support as many kind of medium to small businesses as possible help them realise their potential in the marketplace, and get up and running and kind of maximise their potential on the platform as we move forward. I think one of the things that I have enjoyed most about my time at eBay thus far, and I think obviously I joined in kind of the first week of lockdown 1.0, it was really such an exciting time to join the business, and it remains the same really. And I don't know whether it's as a result of the pandemic, but as soon as I kind of landed into the business, I felt a real impotence around supporting many businesses, large and small, and in many respects kind of helping them survive. And the reason I mentioned that is just touching on what Chris said there about feeling purpose. Yeah. I certainly do in my role, driven by that kind of that pressure really.
Perfect, and thank you so much. And don't worry about the bath time. I think we all experience it. It's the way of the world now. So
virtual working at its best.
Exactly. So kids running in and out is all good for us. But I wanted to kind of touch on a little bit that you mentioned that you'd obviously just been a week into the role, and then obviously lockdown then happened. How was that for you coming in? Because there's obviously a lot of people at the moment who are having to go through a whole onboarding on remotely. It would just be good to kind of get an understanding, the support that you probably received from the team in terms of getting you set up and what that was like, because it's a very unusual situation for a lot of people coming in, having left an organization you were in for a long time, and then all of a sudden you're there, and then you have to change the setup of what a work environment's like.
Yeah, so I actually started eBay from maternity leave, right? So it was a bit of a strange return for work for that reason, and many people kind of appreciate and understand that. But secondly, it was then obviously week 2 of lockdown 1.0, as I mentioned. And I was really concerned about a number of things. Firstly, setting up my space at home. And making sure that I felt kind of, in a good space to be able to focus and concentrate, but also kind of get into grips with eBay and the ways of working at speed, so that I could start adding value kind of as soon as I could. When I look back with hindsight, I really didn't need to be concerned. eBay were and continue to be exceptionally attentive to their employees. My team and the extended team were considerate of kind of my position of starting virtually, and really helpful with their time to kind of help me ramp. And obviously at that time, people were still kind of getting used to actually working virtually as well. So I kind of felt like I was going through a bit of an onboarding time at the same time that they were trying to onboard virtually. So in many ways, it was a good time to kind of start. But certainly now business onboarding virtually is a kind of fine-tuned art, and they actually really excel at it. And that's something that people should certainly not be concerned about starting virtually, because eBay certainly did a fantastic job for me. I know Eve will touch on it in a bit, but it's like I said, it's a fine-tuned art.
Fantastic. And you've also touched a little bit about this in terms of being a working parent. How have eBay been helping, especially working parents? There will be a lot of people that are pulling their hair out around homeschooling and things like that. It's all a strange kind of working setup that we all have to deal with now. What's that been like, and what kind of support have you been receiving from that perspective?
Yeah, and I really have to say how eBay have supported all types of situations in this pandemic really has been exemplar. Talking with parents and working parents, obviously that's one I can touch on. There is a deep understanding across the business, whether people have children or not, that homeschooling is hard work. Yeah, and there is definitely there's no issues with it. There's no problems with people having to change meetings at last minute because they need to look after their children. And the business is very aware that effectively the education of their children and their care for their children comes first. And that's genuine. That's genuinely felt throughout the organisation, and there's certainly no problems there. And I think for me, all of my managers, all of my colleagues, the people that work for me on my team, where I have had to do things to support, my little boy, they've again been really, really understanding of it, and I haven't felt any issues. And, I appreciate in some organisations people do feel the pressures And that certainly hasn't been the case at eBay. And one of the reasons why, again, from a values point of view and what Chris touched on, it really is a very inclusive place to work.
Fantastic, brilliant. And just to kind of sum it up, are there any kind of words of advice that you would give anyone who's thinking of joining eBay during this kind of lockdown period that we're in?
Yeah, and to be honest, it's the case of, feel free to meet with people virtually for a coffee. If anything, it's actually easier to do that than what it was perhaps face to face, when you're meeting people for the first time. So definitely encourage you to do that. When I talked about how I was worried about my setup at home, I've got some good feng shui going on over here, so I feel really motivated. I've got a good view of the window, a good view of the door in case anybody comes in behind me, So I think realistically, it's just eBay are really supportive, right? And it's just a case of leaning on your colleagues and your peers as much as you possibly can to get you up to speed. And I think I'm hoping that people would say that I did a reasonably good job of getting up to speed quickly, and that really wasn't anything to do with me, but the support that I had around me from like I said, my peers, my manager, and also the people on my team.
Fantastic, brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Sarah. And we'll love to introduce Eve. Hello, Eve, and welcome.
Thanks so much.
Oh, brilliant. So you obviously had to go through an onboarding during this period, but it would just be great to kind of just a little bit of an intro about you, your role within eBay, and we'll just talk a little bit more about how you've been supporting, especially new people coming into your team during this period.
Great, thank you. I'm delighted to be here too. So I joined eBay back in December. So I joined in December as the new Chief Marketing Officer for the UK, which basically means that I'm responsible for thinking about how we are growing the brand, doing our marketing activity, everything from the ads that you'll see on TV and how we show up in social through to the PR you might see in press or when you are looking in Google and you find us as one of the results. It was obviously like joining in December meant that I'd gone through my whole interview process for joining a new business virtually. So having my first meetings back in lockdown were quite an interesting experience and definitely not something I had ever imagined that we would that any of us would have to do. But I think it was fascinating for me I was at ASOS beforehand, the online fashion brand, and that was another incredible organisation to be in that was really purposeful and with great people who really wanted to make sure they had a brilliant team who could kind of push the organisation forward. And I felt like that from the very initial conversations I had with the team at eBay and those interviews in my kitchen when my daughter was sat on my lap because she wouldn't go to bed and everyone was just making do and just kind of working out that we were having to be flexible and adapt to this world. It just felt like a very open and supportive environment to be going into. Yeah. I think what particularly appealed to me was when we were having those conversations, I was seeing a lot in the press about how eBay were like reducing seller fees over the period to acknowledge that actually businesses were in a difficult period because of lockdown and COVID, and that eBay could play an important role. And all the support for small businesses that they've done over the past kind of the months, like at the end of last year, I just felt like not only was this a great organisation to be joining from the people that I'd met and kind of how supportive they'd all been in the conversations, but they were also going to be doing something really positive to help the UK economy and to help businesses get back on their feet after such a difficult time. So yeah, I joined back in December, so I'm now 2 months in. So I've now, I think, met probably 3 of the people that I work with at different points when we were outside of lockdowns for walks out in parks and things. So it's been a very different experience, but similarly to Sarah, I've been really overwhelmed by how welcoming everyone has been and kind of how supportive at getting everyone up to speed and kind of supporting me to make sure that not only do I know the people in my team, but I kind of know about what makes them tick, what's happening in their lives, and eBay has done all sorts of things to make sure that we stay really connected as a team, as well as the work stuff that goes on as well.
Yeah, brilliant. And it's great to kind of hear that, because as you said rightly, it's such an unusual experience to go through, because no one's ever done this before, and it's the first time you're actually having to be onboarded and go through an interview process, and it can be kind of quite daunting. And for a lot of people who've never had to do an interview in this kind of format, that must be kind of quite challenging. Is there anything that you can give tips or advice that helped you, especially preparing for those kind of virtual kind of interviews, that you feel might be useful for anyone that's thinking of applying and will have to go through a similar process? I don't know when we're going to come out, so most likely it's the way forward for a little while.
Yeah, I think there's probably two things, because there's the first question of, like, are you ready for a move, and are you set up for it? And I expect a lot of people at this moment in time are kind of questioning priorities in their lives and questioning kind of what they want to do next. And actually, a kind of a global pandemic definitely makes you kind of question what life is all about, and how you want to use your time and and make sure that you're adding value to the world. And I think having kind of questioning yourself, saying, well, what do I want, and what kind of organization do I want to be a part of, and really kind of researching that and saying, like, does the organization that I'm joining or I'm talking to, do they meet the kind of things that I want to do, the kind of conversations I want to be having, and the kind of contributions I want to be making to communities? I think that sets you up in a really positive way. So at a macro level, I think that's really important. Make sure if you're going to make a move at a time like this, you're doing it into an organization that you really believe in, and that's going to be really fulfilling for you. I think it's really important, the stuff you said about, from a practical level, making sure that you're set up for those conversations and done so in a virtual way. As Sarah said a second ago, actually there's all sorts of benefits to being able to connect with people in an environment like this. Like, I have my daughter at home every day at the moment, and like, that means that I get to see her from time to time. It means that we're not doing drop-offs, but it also means that it can make it more complicated sometimes if I've got to work, but actually there's a level of flexibility that it offers you by being at home. And I think that people just need to make sure that they've got their environment set up where they feel comfortable and they feel confident. And I think on the whole, you want to be working in an organisation where they're sympathetic and empathetic to the situation you're in, which I think the team at eBay certainly were. When on my first interview, my daughter insisted on sitting on my lap throughout and eating yogurt rather than going to bed. So that's the reality of how things are at the moment.
Brilliant. So did she help you to get the job? I'm presuming she had a cute face, and definitely they couldn't say no to that.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. She also sat on my lap for most of having a nap for most of a meeting this afternoon. But I think that's a real indication of, like, this is an environment that really wants to support its teams. And like, I've been overwhelmed since I joined, like, how quickly diversity and inclusion was on the agenda for the discussions that we were having as a leadership team, both at a UK level but also at EU. How frequently we were talking about what is it we can do for our teams to make sure that they feel supported, and to make sure that we are making life easier for them during very complex periods, both kind of professionally but also personally. And like, even benefits around how they can support with childcare during times like this. So no, it's been a really supportive environment to come into. But yeah, I'm still sure that Isla played a part in securing the role.
Yeah, you the job.
Her contribution in the first interview.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for it. And it's really interesting to hear that kind of perspective where, one of the things you touched on is around purpose. And I think, now more than ever, you're absolutely right that people are looking for organizations that, have purpose at the heart of what they do. And I think, eBay, I think more and more, especially from, the small business kind of side, has really stepped up to really support those businesses. And, I think there was a competition that was running where small businesses were able to kind of, win quite big grants and stuff, which is amazing. So I think, sometimes we don't hear of all those good stories that happen, and talking about touching what Chris said and what you've also said around that purpose is really starting to come through and becoming more evident about what that actually means within eBay. So thank you so much for explaining that further for us.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely my job to do now, because as you say, there's that's a massive part of what we do. And in a lot of organizations, I'll try and do the marketing campaigns to claim they've got a purpose, but the benefit at eBay is that they're actually actively doing things that are going to make a difference to people's lives, businesses and the economy. So yeah, now we just need to make sure that the UK is kind of aware of all the brilliant stuff going on in the team and the stuff that Sarah's talked about too.
Yeah, no, certainly. And yeah, from a small business owner myself, you know, I think that kind of support is very, very needed right now, and will certainly go a long way as we all start to kind of come back out of this as well. But thank you so much for that. It was really, really interesting insight. And thank you to Isla for getting you the job as well.
Indeed.
Wonderful. So next, I'd love to introduce Nita into the conversation, and we've been doing some recruitment with her recently for her team. So it would just be great to find a little bit more about the opportunities that she's been recruiting for, but also just about her role within eBay. So hopefully she'll be joining us any second. Oh. Right, we'll hopefully get Nita to join us. But whilst we're just waiting for her to come on, I think one of the things that I'm hearing from everybody that we've talked to, you know, from Sarah, from Eve, and from Chris, is that kind of sense of purpose is really, really key, and you know, at the heart of everything that eBay does. And I think especially in this current climate where, you know, now more than ever, we do need organizations to really be stepping up and supporting. And that goes a long way, not just from the customer side, but also from the teams that work there, to know that they're being able to support, you know, people in this way. But Nita, welcome. How are you?
Oh, good evening. Such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you for joining us and spending your evening with us. I was just saying that we've also been doing some recruitment together recently. Be great.
Lots of it, actually.
Keeping us busy, we like that. We're not going to be complaining. But as an introduction, it'd be great to just find out a little bit about you, about your team, and the role that you play within eBay.
Sure. Okay. So I head up delivery experience and fulfillment programs. So, you know, complicated name, but basically what me and my team focus on is, you know, once Sarah and Eve and Chris, you know, get all these amazing inventory, you know, all marketing efforts and get buyers on the platform, you know, how do we give them the best possible delivery experience in terms of the delivery side of things, you know, in terms of making sure that, you know, whatever they order comes on time, and, you know, they have all the different shipping options. So that's what my team focuses on. And of course, it's been a super busy time for us through the lockdowns and through various changes that have happened last year.
Yeah. Fantastic. And it was quite interesting because you obviously, you know, gone through quite a lot of how was that process for you, having to do it remotely, you know, because it must be kind of quite an unusual experience as a hiring manager to be, you know, interviewing people and running that kind of process remotely. How did you find it?
Yeah, so, you know, it was quite interesting listening to Eve and Sarah talk about their experiences being interviewed, but actually it was quite a new experience as an interviewer as well, as a recruiter as well, right? So I'd say, yes, it was an adjustment for sure, especially because we are such a, you know, connected company. We thrive in human connection. So, you know, meeting people face to face is really important for us to get that personal connection going. So, you know, we were suddenly thrown into a situation where we could not do that, which comes quite naturally to us. But I would say that we kind of, you know, adapted pretty quickly. And, you know, there were things we did to make the whole virtual recruiting and onboarding easier. And, you know, some of the things, and you know, ironically, there were some benefits as well. You know, I think one of the obvious benefit was scheduling interviews became easy. You know, you could see, you know, you could interview more people. You could interview more people across different times and different geographies, and, you know, people didn't have to do long commutes to come to do an interview. So, you know, just the variety and length, you know, breadth of people we were able to interview was quite helpful, right? So I think, you know, definitely we were able to give more opportunity to you know, individuals to come forward and interview. So I think that was interesting. And then I think some other things which we did was, again, you know, you'll see this recurring theme from anybody who works for eBay, right? The whole sense of purpose, you know, which drives all of us, and the whole human connection. And I think, you know, one of the things I love, and by the way, I've been with eBay for 7.5 years. So, you know, I've been here for a while, and this is the longest I've ever worked for in a company. And I think I love it here because of all the things that everybody before me has spoken about, the real sense of purpose, the fact that you could kind of bring your whole self into your workplace, and we are all different, but we all kind of add to that team structure and diversity. So I think one of the things which we definitely did was trying to bring that human connection, which was not possible, because we were not physically meeting. One of the things which I personally did was, we scheduled longer interviews just to top and tail that with understanding how each of us was dealing with things, and really bringing those stories back to life, etc. So some of that. Also, I think we were very conscious that this is an anxious time for all of us. So we were very, and Faye, who's a great recruiting partner, made sure that every time we were being a candidate, we were quick to give feedback. We didn't keep them hanging around for a while. We kept that lines of communication going. And then also, how we genuinely want people to succeed. So how do we help them being successful? And one of the things we regularly did was as individuals went through different interview stages, making sure that we give them feedback, tell them what else can they do, or how better they can work on a few things, etc. So I think it was, I would say in summary, was it different? Yes. Was it slightly more difficult to start with? Perhaps, but I think we stepped up, and we kind of adapted to the whole thing, and and I think what really helped us was just being open and honest about it, right? So we were all working from home, so just being open and understanding and empathetic towards each other's situation was how we did that.
Yeah, fantastic. And what would you say is probably one of the hardest things interviewing candidates, especially remotely? There must have been something a little bit challenging. I know the whole technical issue that we've all been having with mics not on or Wi-Fi's dropping. How's that process been?
Well, to be honest, I have to say we didn't have too much of that. I mean, eBay technology works fantastically most of the time. So I have to say that didn't happen. But, sometimes it did happen, right? And, so you switch to the phone, you switch the video off, or, you find another time to speak, or, so all of those things. Of course, it is, there are few challenges in terms of, when you're in person, you can get to meet more people at the same time. You can, get to ask some informal questions. You come into an office, you get the sense of what the office space is like. You kind of imbibe so much of that. And I think what we did was we were very conscious of making sure that we had a diverse recruitment panel, right? So very consciously made sure that when we had an interview panel, it was not just the immediate hiring manager or the manager's manager. We made sure that there was at least one or two peers, and always somebody outside from the team, right? So I think that's very important, because not only are we interviewing a candidate is also making a conscious decision if this is the company that they want to work for. And for that, it's very important that they get different perspectives. So I think that's something which we consciously did, that, we had a diverse panel so that we could give the candidate, as much perspective as we could in this situation about what eBay is about and what working for eBay is about.
Fantastic, and it's really, really important. I mean, I'm such a strong believer in having that diversity across the kind of panel, and making sure that everyone's really comfortable, because it is quite a daunting time when you go for interviews. And I think the more that organizations can make that a much more seamless and less stressful and daunting process, it makes it much easier for people to bring out the best in themselves.
Exactly.
Performance. So when I kind of think of eBay, it's and I think of the type of roles that are eBay. Sometimes people have this idea that you've got to be a programmer, or you've got to have these amazing kind of tech skills. Just talk us about some of the typical roles that people would be able to apply for within eBay.
Yeah, well, I am not a programmer, and my tech skills are definitely not anything to write home about. But I think, again, I think we have lots of exciting roles. I mean, I work in a team which is largely operational, so there are lots of roles in operations. Shipping and logistics is a big team in the UK. I hired 4 people last year as the business grew. There are lots of interesting roles coming up in the trading team, where Chris comes from, or indeed marketing team, or even Sarah's team. We have a mix of commercial roles. We have mix of finance roles and operational roles, and of course there are a lot of technology roles as well. So I think there is a lot of different types of roles that you can apply for. And I think one of the great things about eBay is, and I think I really resonated with what Chris said earlier about really letting people follow their passions, that it doesn't need to be that you start in an operations role and you stay in operations all your life. You very much have the opportunity to move into product management, or go and do a trading or a commercial role, or work in a customer experience team. So it's whatever kind of your passion is, and whatever you want to do, you can very much shape your career. So there are lots of exciting roles, and I can see Faye has just ping the web link for that. But we are hiring a lot these days, and there are lots of different exciting roles. So I definitely say keep an eye on the website, and reach out if you have any questions.
Yeah, fantastic, brilliant. And also one of the things that we've got going at the moment, there's a poll on there. So if anyone's looking for any roles, please do complete that poll, because it will just give us an idea and be able to at least keep in touch with anyone that wants to find out more about opportunities at eBay. And again, if you've got any questions around jobs, the type of jobs, please do feel free to pop that into the chat. We'll make sure we cover that towards the end as well. But thank you so much for that overview, Nitin, and look forward to more recruitment together in the coming year. But I'd like
thank you for being a lovely partner. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thank you. And I'd like to invite the last panelist onto the screen, and that's Kumran. So Kumran and I have done an event together last year, which is amazing. It was in a very different kind of format to this. It was somewhere very glamorous in London. So this is a very different environment of doing an event, but hopefully it's equally as impactful. So hopefully he'll be joining us in a second. Whilst we're just waiting for him to join us. There he is on the screen. How are you?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Yes, I was just saying we're meeting less, glamorous location this time.
Yeah, than last time. Yeah, definitely.
Fantastic. Well, welcome. It's a pleasure to have you here. It'd be great to just get a little bit of insight into your role, and the teams that you look after within eBay.
Sure. So I'm trading director at eBay as part of our the eBay UK leadership team, along with Eve. And so I'm responsible for the B2C side of our business, which is the business to consumer side of our business, and which means everything from business sellers that goes through on the platform. And so I've got a set of teams that typically are organized by vertical or category. So you've got a home and garden team, a fashion team, an electronics team, and so on. And we're responsible fundamentally for making sure we're clear on what our proposition is in each area, and then working with our sellers to make sure we have the right inventory on the platform, optimized with the right shipping standards, and then priced right with the right promotions and so on. That's a fundamental role, and we obviously work very closely with the rest of the eBay UK team, on people like Niti on shipping, with Eve's team obviously on marketing and so on.
Fantastic. And what's it been like, with your teams during this kind of period, especially obviously taking into kind of lockdown? Have you been actively recruiting, and what's that kind of process been like for you, bringing people on?
Yeah, I'd almost say there were 2 stages actually. At the first stage, a little bit of it was, just making sure that everything worked, that people were okay, and we were set up to do this virtually, right? I mean, we all went through the same phase where we wanted to make sure the people we had in the business were able to kind of function normally in the current environment, as well as our sellers were also taken care of. We did a lot of activity that was very on our sellers and our teams, obviously, for the first couple of months. Since then, obviously, we've kind of gone back into the market. No secret that e-commerce has done very well out of this situation. Not anything we wish for, but it is what it is. Which means we are recruiting quite a lot. We've actually got a whole lot of roles that have gone live, and I've put the link on in the chat in the last week or two out there. and recruiting has been it's been interesting. Actually done a couple of interviews today. It's different, but I think as people talked about, it doesn't feel that different anymore. It probably felt more different 3 months into lockdown was the first time you're doing it. I've probably done about 10, 15 interviews in that time. That you just get used to it, don't you? I think we're all on the same boat.
And you're right, and I think one of the things, especially within your sector, there's clearly been a lot of kind of engagement, and I think we're obviously seeing that there's other sectors that maybe have not done so well, who've been shedding unfortunately shedding staff. Are they transferable skills that you maybe look for maybe people that are coming from outside other sectors who could be potentially good for eBay? What kind of some of the key things that you look for when you're recruiting for your teams?
Yeah, a good question. I mean, clearly don't want to be in a situation where we're kind of getting people because they've had an unfortunate situation elsewhere, but that is the reality of it. I think, as people touched on, there's a wide range of skills that we look for, right? So there's lots of different roles, but broadly within my team, what we're primarily looking for are a combination of commercial experience, typically. So they're also very commercial. You're out there speaking with sellers, negotiating with them on inventory and pricing and promotions and that sort of stuff. So commercial experience is important. Also, I would say strategic and analytical skills are important. So we definitely you don't need to be a coder to work at eBay. Definitely not in the commercial teams. Most of us, in fact, none of us from eBay here today have any kind of coding or programming experience. We have teams to do that as well, obviously. But I think working for an e-commerce business, you do need to be comfortable with numbers and using data and insights that get produced for you, but you have to be able to interpret that. And the last thing I'd say, which is more of a general eBay thing, is we obviously very important for us that people who come in, we think will add and build on our culture. So we have definitely, it's not one size fits all, but we need to be confident that whoever comes in can help us build that culture that we're rightly very proud of, that all the others have talked about.
Fantastic, and it's great to hear that you're obviously kind of looking and bringing people in. So a question I kind of just have is, once people are in eBay, how do you progress and nurture them to make sure that they progress into other roles? Is that something that is kind of quite big within eBay for people that are ambitious and want to grow their careers? What does that look like within eBay?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is definitely yes. There's maybe 3 or 4 elements to it. In terms of development, as with most places, there's a mix of what I'd say formal coaching and training, as well as obviously the informal on the job development side of things. So on the formal side, we cycle through different programs each year. You can imagine last year, for example, we overinvested actually in resilience. Actually, is what we really focused on. So a lot of our training budget went into that, to making sure we're equipping people with the right tools, given everything that was going on. In the past, we've done things like problem solving, and for my team, problem solving and presentations, negotiation training, something we regularly do for people in the role. So we cycle through different programs depending on what we think is the need for the team in any given year or quarter. On the informal side, that's clearly a big part of anyone who's a people manager, on their kind of objectives is the development of their team. So I know that I hold my people managers to that. My boss holds me to that, and so on. That's something that's regularly part of the culture at eBay. And then in terms of kind of growth opportunities, that happens 2 ways. One is the business is expanding, as we've talked about, which naturally creates opportunities for people to grow into and new roles. Yeah. And the other thing is we're a big international organization, which means for those, again, in more normal times, for those who wish to take on new roles and challenges in other countries, that opportunity is there as well.
Fantastic, brilliant. And you've obviously been with eBay for quite some time. What kind of keeps you at eBay?
Yeah, what keeps me at eBay? For me, 2 things I think I'd say. First and foremost, one is I like the work, right? I think you have to like what you do. Otherwise, it's hard to get out of bed in the morning if you don't. And I generally like the work. I find it interesting and challenging. And the second thing for me is I like the people I work with as well, which again I think is a big part. We spend a lot of time with the people we work with virtually these days, but if not in person, but still I enjoy the company of those I work with. So it's a combination of those 2 things fundamentally, I think.
Fantastic. And finally, what advice would you give to anyone who's listening to this, who's thinking of potentially applying for a role at eBay?
The glib answer probably is do it. The more thought through answer might be consider it carefully. There's lots of information I think we can share. The website has information. I think Cynthia, your team can help as well. So, consider it carefully, have a careful look at it. We think we've got a great place to work at and some very interesting roles. So I would just say, have a good look at it. If any questions, obviously get in touch with any of us and we're happy to kind of answer those. And what I might say is if you have a look at it and think it's not right for you for right now, that's fine. Still get in touch with us because we always have new roles coming on. So if you think you're interested in eBay but not the role, still get in touch. What we'll do is we'll keep your details and we'll get in touch with you when the right thing comes along.
Fantastic. Oh, thank you so much. It's been really amazing hearing, everyone's feedback and thoughts about working at eBay. It makes me want to apply for a job. So look out for my application. It'll be coming in very soon. But I'd like to invite back, the rest of the panelists, just so that we can just go through some questions. And if you've got any questions that you'd like to ask any of the panelists, it's an opportunity for you to just pop that into the chat, and we'll kind of get through. And I think there are some kind of questions here, but also just to remind everyone, the poll is still there if you would like to kind of complete that and fill this out. So I've got a few questions on here, which is brilliant. So first one, I'm going to direct this probably to Chris. So it says eBay is a great place to work, and you have a number of groups that help employees to get involved in activities outside the roles. However, from a diversity perspective, what policy does eBay have in place to tackle discrimination within the workplace?
Okay, yes, so this is obviously incredibly important to us for all kind of building on all the reasons I said earlier. So we have very robust internal teams and policies. So a couple of kind of things to flag. One is the people team, and very clear ways to actually flag any discrimination at all that's taking place. We have a helpline for that. It's completely confidential. Everything will be investigated incredibly thoroughly and incredibly professionally. So that's very important. The other thing is generally ethics and compliance is something that's incredibly important to us as well. We have a team who focus on that. We have to go through training every year on this key topic, the whole population of eBay, everyone who works for eBay. This is something that's incredibly important to the business and incredibly important that no one who suffers any discrimination would feel like they can't report it and they can't see that it's followed through in the way that it should be.
Brilliant. And there's another comment here saying that Brexit has been a big topic over the last few years and it's still important right now. How can you tackle that in terms of recruitment and bringing more people from outside of the UK into eBay?
I could maybe have a go at that. And I think Faye's also answered some of it in the chat. I mean, Brexit more generally, as you can imagine, has had a massive impact on the business. And we have a Brexit team, which Niti is a co-part of, that I know have been working day and night on lots of the complexities that throws up. But the answer is we have a people team who, we always hire from all over the world. So yes, in the past, hiring from the European Union was easier, but we've had people join us from outside the Union in the past, and we have set process and ways of working for doing that. We have a global mobility team who help people move here from different countries. So it's something that we're pretty used to. So it's kind of business as usual on that front for us, actually.
Fantastic, brilliant, thank you. And one of the other kind of questions that I had sent in earlier was so what do the senior managers at eBay do to support and champion colleagues from underrepresented backgrounds and help to create an inclusive culture? Who would like to answer that one?
I could take that question.
Okay.
I mean, today is a reflection, I think, of the investment that we're putting into that topic. We also have key partnerships, which again reflects today. So we know that as a business, no business knows everything. So you need to have key partnerships. And so, for example, the partnership we have with you is incredibly valuable to help us to do everything we can to ensure that everyone has an equal chance at eBay. There are a number of other things that we're doing, and it actually ties into another question in terms of how do the communities of inclusion actually influence the business, and they actually involve in a couple of ways. One is in policy. We have actually changed some of the policies of the business because of work that we've done with third parties and working with the communities of inclusion. So, for example, Stonewall, the LGBT plus charity, the work we've done with them has directly changed our policies, which will help ensure people can kind of get promoted equitably within the business. And then the second part is in terms of our recruitment and retention programs. working closely with the communities of inclusion to ensure that they are truly ensuring that we're going to be truly diverse. It's obviously an ongoing piece of work. It's very important to not only have a program that ensures that everyone is diverse in the business, but also the business is truly inclusive. There's no value in just bringing people in to hit diversity targets if people then don't feel that they can stay. So that is a key focus for us on both sides.
Fantastic. Thank you for that, Chris. And I agree with you. And I think over the past year, the partnership that we've had, especially with Faye and her team, has been one where we've really been looking at ways that we could really, create that inclusive kind of culture for eBay. And it's something that you're continuously working on and looking at ways to make that process better for everyone. I think Niti touched on that a little bit around that, even things like the interview panels now, to make sure that there's that representation across all interview panels, just so that you get a cross perspective of different thoughts, from people with different kind of backgrounds and lived experience, to really help with bringing in that talent. So really, really good to see that happening. And then one of the other questions that's just popped in is, somebody says, one of the things I miss most is working in the office and being with a team. How does eBay keep the team culture alive and the team members motivated? Who wants to go for that one?
Well, I think all of us can go for that one. But maybe if I get started, I mean, I think, I feel incredibly well looked after and incredibly, we are always doing things to look after each other. Fun is a big part of what we do. Different sorts of events and activities are done, be it a fun workout with Joe Wicks, or a cook along, or virtual drinks, or virtual quizzes, or all sorts of things. I think we have, I personally think eBay has done incredibly well in keeping us connected and having that fun element going through, as we have worked incredibly hard as well, right? So I feel that it's been great, the way we have been looked after, but I'm sure there are others who contribute to this question.
No, I just reiterate that because I'm obviously relatively new into the team, and so I've been here for 2 months now, and I thought that maybe the kind of initiatives were being run because of Christmas time, but actually even in January there's been so much going on to make sure that we're kind of landing the plan with our teams in a really fun and engaging way, but at the same time, great webinars that have been going on around how to make sure that people can stay, kind of have a balanced approach to work life while they're working from home, like brilliant things like exercise clubs set up on our work channels, like Slack, just to encourage people to get out in the day as well. So I think lots of things to kind of bring the teams together virtually and on Zoom as well, but then also encouraging ways to stay connected by taking time out of the day to go for walks, to go for run, to exercise together and things, even if you're just sharing those things. So yeah, I think there's a lot of focus on making sure that we still stay connected as a team in a positive way.
Fantastic, thank you. And you're absolutely right. I think now more than ever, that connection is so important. So great to hear some of the things that eBay are doing to encourage that kind of connection, because it can easily get lost and people can feel quite isolated, when they're working kind of remotely. So I'm just conscious of time, but I'd just love to have one quick thing that you'd all say you love about working at eBay and why somebody should join and apply for opportunities. Who wants to go first?
I'm happy to go first, seeing as I joined most recently. So I think the thing that I love most about it is just the opportunity that we've got to do amazing things for customers, but the appetite at the same time to get everybody involved in different perspectives on how we can get to those solutions. So as everybody's talked about today, there's a real sense of opening up conversations and discussions, like everybody's idea is welcome and is invited. It's a very collaborative and supportive environment for people to share ideas and thoughts. So yeah, I love the opportunity that exists, but then also the environment at which we can work in to try and deliver that too.
Thank you.
I can go next. I think if you like working for a company which has a great sense of purpose, if you like working for a company where you can actually see that you're making difference in people's life on a day-to-day basis. If you like working for super smart but also super friendly people, then I would say this is a place to work for, right? I think it's it's an organization which is high on purpose. It's an organization, with super talented people, but equally, a culture which is inclusive and fun.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I mean, I probably echo everything. For me, I kind of maybe put it, the one word answer is because I really enjoy my work. What I mean by that is because it's interesting, it's rewarding, and it's challenging. It's a combination of all three for me that keeps me here.
Great.
Yeah, I think for me it kind of ties in with what everyone said, but what I kind of really love about it is the business is constantly evolving. So it never stays still and it's always changing, which creates a challenge, but it's also really exciting. And combined with the fact, like Eve said, that everyone's opinion is taken very seriously, it means that you're in a collective of people where you're constantly you're in a project together to evolve this business. And like Eve said as well, it's really connected to the purpose of the sellers and the buyers who we can really make a difference for. So it's that combination of kind of constant evolution, working as a collective of people with a true purpose is really what excites me about eBay.
Brilliant. Thank you all so much for that overview, and hopefully, for everyone that's attended today, you've got a good insight into what a career could look like at eBay and why it is such a special place to work. I think it's been really evident. One of the key things I've kind of taken away from this is the common thing that kept coming out is that purpose and that being your authentic self. And I think that really did shine through from everyone of the panelists, and just really how much eBay are trying to really make, especially this period, which is very difficult for everybody, more durable, with the support that you're giving your staff, but also with the people that you're trying to bring in through the way you're running your interview processes, how you're supporting people once they're in the organization. I think it's been really, really interesting to hear. And I think for anyone that's, out there that's maybe been thinking, should I not? Hopefully that's given you a good insight into what a career could be like, but also the culture, I think, which is really, really important. I think, with anyone who's looking for a role, it's going into an organization where you can be your authentic self, you can come in, you can develop, you can grow, and hopefully, you've got a good sense from the conversation today. That will certainly be something that you will be able to have by having a career at eBay. So hopefully you'll be able to choose eBay as your next career option. But if you've got any questions or there's anything that you want to find out, I think there are links in the comments. I can see them kind of going through in terms of reaching out to find a little bit more. So you could send an email through to our team at info@BAME Recruitment, or Faye's put in a link of some of the current live vacancies that are available for you to have a look at. There's also an eBay page on the BAME Recruitment website where you can find out more about the culture. There's video content on there, but also you can find more from what they're doing from a D&I perspective. I think Chris did touch on that earlier, but I think there's an overview of some of the incredible work that they've been doing over the years, and especially with some of the networks and the involvement that the networks have been doing to make sure that everybody, no matter what your background, where you come from, that you do feel a sense of belonging when you are working at eBay. So thank you all for joining us tonight. It's been such a pleasure to spend the last hour with you all, and we hope to see you all soon. Thank you, everyone, and thank you to our wonderful panelists. It's been lovely hearing from you all, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.